Good evening. Welcome to another seminar of the SFL. Tonight we have Constantina Christou with us. Constantina will present a seminar with the title Vocational is Soul's Vocation. Constantina, we hear you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Pedro.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
Yeah. Είμαστε τρία άτομα εμείς, so.
Ωραία. Nice. All right. Vocation is Soul's Vocation. I was trying to find a title, and I came up with the word vocation. According to Cambridge Dictionary, is a type of work that you feel you're suited to doing and to which you should give your time and energy, or the feeling that a type of work suits you in this way. So vocation, what you're passionate about, what the world needs, it's a calling. That's what I found. So my calling, it's what I love doing and for living, and that is speech and language therapy to people that need me, mostly in pediatric population. I work in preschools and primary schools, so I basically work with the age population of 3 to 12. It's pretty amazing what you can create with those ages. I love working with them. In the rehearsal, I wasn't stuttering, so bear with me. Children, what's there not to love? I handle the little kids as respectable humans, and I try to understand where they're coming from. I meet their parents and I interview them before I read any diagnosis in order to form an idea on their personality and their experiences. When you meet them, they only have the baggage of their parents, not their own. And together we have to unload as much as possible of that burden, and we try to find their own mission in life by learning how to communicate. In order to do that, you cannot look only at the symptoms, you have to look beyond that. Sorry, hold on. You have to look at their environment, their culture, their family, their parents' beliefs of their child. It's fascinating how much material you can discover by interviewing the parents and by introducing yourself as a vulnerable parent and not as a stuck-up professional that is here to judge them. Suddenly, they just open up and give you their vulnerabilities. That's where you get to see how they really see their children. And that's where I start my therapy, by making small but valuable comments on parents on how they see their child and how they can change that by giving personal examples on my children. When you show parents that you truly care for their children, you have their cooperation. I always start my therapy by giving children space and time to talk to me spontaneously by describing their previous day or weekend, or tell me about an event that occurred in school with their classmates. That's where I can make an intervention. I address the elephant in the room. I pay attention at their breathing. If they are upset, I deal with calming their breath. And when it is finally calm, I continue with my speech and language goals. My children, the children that I work with, know that I am there for them, and I do everything in my power to help them deal with their difficulties. I always use the word difficulties because everyone has difficulties. You don't have to be special in any way to have difficulties. Usually parents place them in that special category, and I try to avoid it. I smile and I play with them during the session. When I play with them, I am a real player. I am antagonist and I do try to win. That's how I earn their respect. Whatever I say, I mean it and I do it. I never lie to them, but I give them the truth in a more gentle way. I work outside the office too. For the little kids, at the beginning, I go to the food store and I stand by their side to buy food. And every time I stand a little bit further, and after a while, I send them to go by themselves. Same goes with the toilet and hand washing. It's amazing how much children do without the presence of their mother. I set rules and put boundaries during the session. I organize their homework, their short-term and long-term goals. I love going to work. I create, I form their communication skills. I can see their progress in every session. I involve parents in our everyday goals. Parents have homework. They have to practice with their children. They have to invest some of their time just for that. They have to slow down, sit opposite their children, switch off any distractions, and communicate, interact with their child. Just with that practice, I see difference in their child. It's important to know that most of my children have developmental language disorder. The ratio is 1 in 14 children, but after 2 years of lockdowns and isolations, I believe the ratio is much bigger, especially at the ages of 2 to 4 years old. Associated with attention deficit, or what I call parents' absence syndrome, which is the lack of parents' rules and boundaries for their countless hours on screens, for the countless amount of intake of sugar and corn syrup in their blood, and finally the sleep deprivation, causing them lack of attention and excessive movement. That is causing them trouble at school, in or out of the classroom. The problem begins with the teacher's comments or shouts. These children cannot sit for 5 hours with a 40-minute break in between, causing trouble in the classroom. That's where the teachers, having to teach 25 kids, they start complaining and stigmatizing these children for their mistakes and difficulties in the classroom in front of other students. Sometimes they even shout very loudly at them. And most of the kids have hypersensitivity sensory processing disorder. That means they perceive stimuli as extreme sensory stimulus, and it can be almost impossible for them to control their response with their bodies or their mouth. As a result, their classmates stigmatize them for being a bad student, and the bullying begins. An area I focus my attention is the recess. I go out with them, we talk, we laugh, we play. I make small interventions to them. We make a friendly environment for the bullies to join us. And if I can have such fun with them, they can have fun with them too. Another area I focus my attention is to make small comments, interventions to teachers. I'm not one of their favorite colleagues, let me tell you that. I don't consent to their complaining for children. I think it's their job to find ways to handle the child, to make a child happy in order to learn. In order to make children to really listen to you, you have to really listen to them, to their narratives, as I said before, to address the elephant in the room. And that's what I do during my therapies. I'm also here to present my desire for my occupation and why it's so strong, and why I beat all odds and I became one, and I did everything in my power to be a good one. I always wanted to work with children. I knew that at very early age, when I didn't pass the preliminary exams to be a teacher or a preschool teacher, for the University of Cyprus, I realized that my future had limitations in Cyprus. But it was a dead end for me, as my dad didn't allow me to go abroad, mostly for financial reasons. Suddenly, my mom opens my perspective for my future when she suggested to go to New York to study, even though financially we couldn't afford it. As I was looking for a profession, again, my mom heard for a new profession, speech and language therapist. I wasn't sure back then, but then I visited a speech therapist for one session, and I immediately fell in love with that activity, helping children over playing to learn to communicate. I was so fascinated and excited, and I still feel gratitude to that lady and to my mom. I went to New York by myself, 19 years old. I had to stay at an old couple's house that they knew my mother's cousin for the early period of enrollment in Long Island, very far from the university, or Astoria, the area I plan to stay later with 2 other Cypriot girls. During my preliminary English assessment, I was freezing in the classroom, so I left the building without finishing the exams. As a result, I had to start English as a secondary language and math as a college level. I moved to Astoria, and without having anyone to help me, I had to go around and look for a job. I had to find my way to and from the university. I had to change 3 trains and a bus to get there. And even though it was really difficult for me, and I was very depressed for leaving a boyfriend back home, even though I would get into lectures and couldn't understand a word they were saying. And New Yorkers will talk to me and I will just nod without understanding a word. Nothing could stop me from finishing my goal. Not even when there was a semester that I lost my job and had to ask for $5 loan from my roommate to get to the university, or not having to buy food, will not stop me from my goal. Not even when I got macked by a man with a knife on my throat didn't stop me from my goal. My goal just kept me going. Even though I started behind, I managed to finish sooner than others in 7 semesters, 3.5 years, with a GPA 3 out of 4. It wasn't the best score, but if you think that I was registering for 7 subjects instead of 4 each semester, and I was working and studying, it was pretty good. I'm proud of myself. I learned good English, that's for sure. But I wasn't done, even though, even though I thought I was done, I came back to Cyprus, got an apartment with my boyfriend back then, but I was restless. His father had seen a scholarship for speech and language pathology in the newspaper from Iulia Pikis Foundation. Immediately, I acted on it, despite the fact that they were asking for a much higher GPA. I was sure that I will get the scholarship. I went to the interview feeling that I already have it. I was so confident, and I showed them that I want to study more so I can be a better speech therapist for the children. That was my aim, and that's what gave me the scholarship. They changed the rules of registration for the scholarship, and they changed the way they distributed the money. But for sure, they paid my university. I got the scholarship. The rest of the money was a student loan. By the time I got the scholarship, I was overdue to enroll to a graduate program. One day, a friend of my boyfriend back then was studying to one university that had one of the best clinics for speech and language pathology, and he could contact the head of the department, Dr. Smith. At first, he said that I couldn't enroll and I was going to lose the scholarship. But then he heard my dedication and my passion, and he found a solution. I registered to the graduate courses as an undergrad student, but the courses would count on the second semester as a graduate courses. Amazing. It was April 2000 by then, and in August, I left. I left for Carbondale University, Southern Illinois. I had to travel 24 hours to get there. It was a small town in the middle of nowhere with 26,000 students and 3,000 inhabitants. When I arrived there, students were still away. It felt like a ghost town. In the first week, someone tried to open my apartment while I was sleeping. I had to travel on foot because there was no means of transportation. Everyone had a car. I didn't. I managed. I found my campus, my way to campus. I found my classes. And soon enough, it was full of students. I made a friend from Sweden in my building, and we became best friends. I loved it there. I finally could be a student, just studying, not working, without distractions, and bars were closed by 1:30 in the morning. The place is in the woods, in nature. It was beautiful. You could feel all the seasons. I bought a great bike for $50, best price, and I traveled with my bike in any kind of weather. So I remember traveling in the snow. Finally, I saw that I could be good and at what I was learning, and that gave me hope that I will know what to do with a child of need. I finished my studies with a much higher score. I finished my thesis, my practice in pediatrics and in geriatrics, and I applied for a working visa in Illinois. In the meantime, I moved back to New York, and I tried to enjoy for the first time New York City while working as a waitress and volunteering as a speech and language pathologist at a Greek school in Astoria. During that time, my mom heard that they would give jobs to speech therapists in the school system, and only those that knew a politician in the government will get a job, even though I was the 9th in a row. So the same day, she closed her shop, traveled to the capital of Cyprus, went to the Ministry of Education, demanded to see the person in charge, and managed to save my position in the school system. Her only obstacle was me. I didn't want to come back. So she talked to everyone I knew in New York to try to convince me. And then one day, a very good friend of mine, and now my best man, gave me a ride back home in order to talk to me. I was puzzled because I wanted to stay, but I didn't know what was best. So he said to me, I won't say much. I'll put you a song to listen and decide whether you feel it's right. The song is called Kalamandada, and it goes like this. I tried to translate as much as I could. Good news, good future, refreshments in the roads, happy children, and what I wouldn't give to have you, and what I wouldn't give to live there again. Colors with holy names, I see in my eyes, we planted. So many things I want to tell you, so many things I want to tell you. Bodies in the ancient pediments, words my years snatched. I have so many things to tell you. I have so many things to tell you. Bells are ringing, dolphins are running, celebrating mothers. Which foreign country has you? Dada, torch is Greece, shines from above. So there and then I decided to come back to Cyprus because I felt that Cyprus needed me more than any other place. Our children needed me more. Cypriot children needed me more. I went for 5 days in Las Vegas. I had the time of my life. I went crazy there. And then I flew back to Cyprus, blessed with that rich journey of studies in the States that made me stronger, better, and wiser. I didn't stop there. I wanted to be even better. So I registered to all good seminars for continuing education, 5 to 10 each year. I took part in the Cypriot Speech and Language Pathologist Board for 3 years. I started psychoanalysis that lasted for many years as I needed guidance for being a better self and a better speech and language pathologist. I've took part in the life coaching and kids life coaching course that was offered by the SFL and also many other seminars by SFL. And finally, I train undergrad students that are almost done by being their supervisor at my placement. I feel that all that knowledge that I have, if it's not traveled to others, it's not use and no point. I feel by training others that I will leave my inheritance to others and I will transmit the energy to leave to others. A profession as a vocation, it's not a job. It's a calling and an inclination. A vocation is soul's vocation. And that's that.
Thank you, Constantina.
Thank
Thank you very much for sharing all this with us. Do you have any questions? Do we have any questions?
I've got a comment. Can you hear me, Constantina?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, I think you said something approximately in the beginning of your presentation that encapsulates the way you function as a speech and language pathologist, and that is, you said about the syndrome and then you call it in your own way. You named it yourself. You said the absent mother syndrome. As I call it, you said. And that shows that a professional, a specialist who went from what she was trained, respecting that, but she was able through her experience and through all these encounters you had with psychoanalysis, with coaching, etc., in your life, of course, you were able to name something that was not in the book. And that takes a lot of courage to be able to go to name something because of your experience that goes beyond what the, let's put it in quotes, science and statistics say. Okay. And in order to do that, each specialist, I'm talking about you specifically now, it needs to be courageous to go beyond what is taught, to use that as a tool in order to create, to see, to put their own touch. And I liked it. I mean, that just shows also that you give space for each child's subjectivity. Precisely because each parent, each family, each child is different. And you wouldn't be able to name that, the absent mother syndrome, unless you will be able to see the child in subjective position, individual position. And that's very impressive.
Thank you.
That's all from me.
Thank you.
Any other comments, any other questions to Constantina?
I like the phrase that in order for a child to listen to you, you need to listen to him. So it's just, it sounds like giving a space for the voice to rise up. Just that. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you.
Can I ask something? I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Can-
I cannot
Yeah.
see you. I don't know who's this.
I'm sorry for the noise.
It's fine.
No? Hara.
Γεια σου, Χάρα.
Okay. I would like to ask, hello, what could we do, if there's something to do, for a young man who actually cannot speak in front of his mom, let's say, when the mother is very present? I can also write my comment, maybe. Better?
I lost you a little bit, and I
Okay,
didn't hear the
I
whole
will write.
question.
I will write my comment. Okay.
Okay. All right.
If I may say something as well, Constantina Mo,
Yes.
what I really liked from what I heard, it's your passion and your determination. I know from what I heard, it was like, okay, it wasn't an easy journey, but you knew what you wanted to do. Maybe not in detail or the exact thing and how to make it happen, but it was like, from what I heard, it was like an inner passion drive towards a goal. And I really like that determination and that passion and the smile. The way you were describing what you were describing, it was with a smile. And it made me feel like, yeah, I think it made me feel that passion that you have inside you by listening and by looking at you describing the story.
Thank you. So, Hara, is there something we can do for a young man who does not do any effort to speak when his mother is present? She's often speaking in his place, even before he thinks how to answer. So very often he does not even make an effort to respond. Well, the first thing is to separate them. I will do that. It's to make space and space for the child to talk, not in front of the mother or in the absence of their mother. And I will try to tell her to create space for her son to speak. I will start with that. And then, I mean, it depends how this case is and why. I'll try to look behind the symptom, why he's not talking. Is there any pathological reason? Is he apraxic, or is he stuttering, or any other reason? And if we see that there's no reason pathological, then for sure I will refer this child to a psychologist, psychoanalyst. For sure I wouldn't work by myself if there's no any pathological reason. She's not listening. There is a syndrome, but not severe. No problem with. Okay, so it depends on. So I'll in the session, you are with a child, just with a child. So immediately you isolate the mother outside of those walls. So immediately you create space for that child to speak, to express himself. And there you get to analyze his speech, his narratives. What's there, I don't know. It goes by the session. I don't know what else to say. If that's helpful.
Hello, Constantina.
Hi.
So how do you, I would put in quotes, educate the parents on how to be strict when the word strict for a parent might mean something that is related to suffocating the child? Do you work with the parents as well? Do you, I mean, yes, you do work with the parents, but in what way do you work with the parents, and in what length do you work with the parents?
Okay, so what do I do with the parents? First of all, I don't have the, I'm not there to judge them, and I make sure they understand that. Yes, that's, immediately you see walls coming down, and they're more, you see their vulnerability because they are stressed parents, and they tell you why they worry about their child, and that's why they brought it to you. I always connect with them as a parent too, in some way. I try to tell them and teach them who's the boss in their house, because let's say you have a father that is absent from, my latest case is this. I have a child, and I'm working with him for the last 3 years. He did amazing progress, but now he has issues in his classroom. His father is absent, so I'm talking with the mother, and he's not absent from the house. He's absent from his son's life. So when I was talking to the mother was at the beginning very frustrated from the school, because they called her up and they said, your child is having fights and with others, and he's saying bad words and all this stuff. So I said to her, you know what? If they try to bully him, it's okay for him to fight back. If it was my son, I will advise him to do that. So immediately she felt relieved. She felt, yes, exactly. And so from that moment, I have her attention. And then I told her, but listen, we cannot fight the whole school. We have to work with just your son. He's a person, and he's going out in the society, and he has to be strong enough not to contact with the bad ones. He has to contact with the good ones. He has a choice. So we have to work on that. And in order for that to happen, his dad has to show him how he's acting with his friends. So he has to take his son and take him to his friends and do manly things. And it's very important for you to realize that he's becoming a pre-teenager now. So you have to withdraw a little bit from him. You are too connected to him. And she agreed, she accepted those comments from me. And she trusted me, and she said, yes, you know what, I'm going to talk with my husband. And I said to her, you know what, between mothers, it's very important for you to know that in order for the dad to come in, you have to make space for the dad. So you have to back up and let the dad come in. trusted that to come in. And immediately, she said, yes, I'm going to do that. She didn't kick, from that. And well, we'll see. We'll see when I go back how the kid's behavior changed. I mean, I know this is going to take time, but I'm going to be asking questions.
From what you just said, it made me realize that the mother is still a child.
The mother is it's very attached to her child for some reason. And she wants to control everything in the house and in her son's life. And I realized that when I gave homework. I gave homework, the same homework every week. She was helping him all the time. So I said to him, I want you to do it by yourself. And I was, commenting every time, I want you to do it by yourself. Did your mom help you? Yes, she did. So, and then I continue giving the same homework. And then the boy was frustrated. He was like, please, I want you to stop giving me the same homework. I'm fed up. And I said to him, you know what? When you bring me a homework back that it's full of mistakes, I'm not going to stop. I need to see your mistakes in order to help you. Otherwise, I cannot help you. It's like we're never doing it. So the next time he went back home, and when I talked to the mother, she said it was the first time he stopped me in helping him. And I said, good. Because even though I gave you instructions not to help him, you kept going, in a humorous way. I said that, and she laughed and she said, "Yes, it's true." So I'm glad he did that. So I'm not sure if she's a child. I cannot. I didn't pick that up.
I think you're demonstrating here how limits and structures come to be built. That no human being is born with knowing when to stop. It has to come through, and it seems you found a way, which is a very ingenious way to put the same homework every time. I think that's great. And it's so interesting. A few of the things you've said, it's very simple actions, like to put the mother outside the room. These things people would think is something more complicated, but when you have an orientation, it's a simple thing. And you did a simple thing, the same homework, until eventually the son put a limit to the mother. And actually, that's the best way it could come. Very few men can put a limit to their mother.
And actually, she was proud of him. So
exactly. And this is also something important to understand. Freud, by the way, I apologize for not being here at the beginning. I had a diary malfunction. But Freud, at the end of his life and career, he was 81 years old, I think, when he was writing, and he said, what does a woman want? And actually, one of the things a woman wants is a man who can put a limit in the right way.
Say that again?
Is a man who can put a limit in the right way. Not about being macho and telling her off, but in this moment, right now, stop. And like you say, she was proud of him because she cannot stop. Because what we have here is the real. It's not a person, it's the real. It's whatever forces play out in our experience. And for her to be able to stop, somebody has to be there to stop her so that she can mark that her husband doesn't do it, but you created, and it's interesting that a woman knew how to facilitate that for her son to put a limit to his mother. So you've done not only the mother, not only the son, but the son's wife and children a big favor by facilitating the conditions where he could put a limit to his mother and say stop. Because it's a very big thing, a very small thing, but a very big thing.
Oh, that's good. I'm happy to do that. I did that. I didn't realize that I did all that, but
that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like κάτι τόσο απλό, something so humble, but when it's in the right place, you know.
Yes. It's very important for these children to know that, you know, you're there for them and you support them in the whole environment, the school environment. And that's where they trust you whenever you know, you say something and they follow instructions. I have another child. He's in the spectrum, and he's first grade. He drives his teacher crazy. I hear her shouting 20 meters away. My room, it's 20 meters away. Literally, I just want to go in a room and make her shut up, but I don't, because, you know, and I know that he does it on purpose. When he comes in my session, he's the best kid ever. I don't even I don't recognize that, you know, it's the same child. He comes there and he's ready to work. And I always treat him as a much older boy with responsibilities and, you know, and but with rights also. So at the beginning, he didn't want to come in my room, and I was puzzled. What's wrong? You know, I tried everything. And then I talked to the mother, and she said, there is a picture in your room that scares him. I couldn't even imagine that it was that was the reason. So I took them down. I took some pictures down, and immediately I went to him and I told him, you know, I put the pictures down just for you, so you can come in and there's nothing to be afraid now. So since then, you know, at first he was afraid a little bit, but then he came, he saw that the pictures were down. He was so happy. And we started communicating. He has dyspraxia and with too many difficulties in phonology and phonetics, but he's much better on vocabulary, and we started vocabulary. I didn't start on his most difficulties. I started with something else that I know he's going to be better at. So I started with that, and slowly I started understanding him, because it's difficult to understand him. Now I understand his narratives, because I control a little bit the narratives. So I know the context, and I know if he says something that I might not understand, I understand the meaning, and I show him that I understand, and he appreciates more. And I met his, I saw his mother at the pharmacy the other day, and she was like, you are the only one in school that he likes you. And I didn't have a clue, and I was surprised. And I came home and I started thinking, why me? Why? I mean, there's a good teacher, but she shouts on the other hand. there's a good headmaster, but she's complaining and nagging. So it's me. I'm the only one that I'm not nagging, I'm not complaining, I'm not shouting. I put my boundaries, of course. You know, he knows his routine, but it's just me, him, and another child. So I realized that it's the noise in the classroom. It's very difficult for him. It's the noise of the voice of the teacher. It's the fact that they don't try to understand him, and he's doing everything in his power to make them angry. It's amazing.
You know something, maybe he is, but also maybe he also can't stop himself from reacting. You have a conceptual frame, and with dyspraxia in particular, the issue of structure is very present. And because you construct a certain kind of frame, it becomes possible for him to find his place and his sense of space to be, there you are. When you were speaking earlier, it made me think of how I understand, I don't know how far you follow the psychoanalytic concepts, but the desire of the analyst. And for me, it also, yes, it's a general principle, but it's the specific desire of the particular human being that is in that place. So in this context, you're the desire of the speech therapist, let's say. And when there is a disparity of power between children and adults, for example, it doesn't have to be children and adults, but wherever there's a disparity of power, the one in the weaker power position knows very well how the other enjoys. And if the other enjoys by putting them down, they react. When they encounter somebody who enjoys by seeing them raised, that's where the respect comes. That's what changes things. And I'll give you a tiny example, but you'll recognize it, I'm sure. And I think I probably mentioned it a couple of times over the years before, but this was many years ago now, 15 or so years ago. There was a young man who came to me in the university. He had dyspraxia, as it happens. And I saw his psychologist report, and he had a WAIST test, which is the Welshler adult intelligence test. And there were 12 subtests, and all his subtests were on the lowest percentiles except one. And when he came in, he sat in the chair, and he was wearing, in those days, I don't know if you know what they were, shell suit. You know what a shell suit is? It was a certain kind of tracksuit. But he had his baseball cap back to front, and he was sitting in the chair like this, okay? So he just sat down. I looked at his report, and I saw the one subtest that he did well in. It was like 75th centile. And all the others were 5th centile, which meant that 95 students out of 100 would have done better than him with the others. So very dyspraxic. But on this one, which was information, I knew there was a psychologist who'd given a presentation the week before, and I knew that that particular test, you had to be aware of current affairs, watching the news to score well. Okay. So that told me he was interested. He was focusing on something he wanted to know. And this, it never happened before, and it never happened again. But I saw that score, and I spontaneously said to him, "Why do you pretend to be stupid?" It just came out, right? And he literally sat up, he took his baseball cap off, and it was a different conversation after that. He said it's a test. I don't think it was a test, but he didn't know how to be otherwise until you call them into a place of dignity. And that's the key for this. To be respected, you have to treat them with respect. That's it. So if you value them, and that's where the desire of the analyst or the desire of the teacher is. If the teacher enjoys shouting and saying, you don't listen, da, 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 he doesn't have anything else to say to someone who's enjoying themselves being the victim of whatever, okay? It's a different, you can't do anything with that. So it's whatever the dynamic is, and it depends on desire and satisfaction.
I can see that. I can see that. As I said at the beginning of my presentation, I'm trying to see how their parents see them. And I do try to see how their teachers see them. But now it's more obvious after that comment. And yes, and I always have that disagreement with the teachers that I get comments, and as I said in my presentation, I'm not their best colleague because I don't like when they complain about children. You know, it's their job to find out what those children have to give, and they're not willing to do that. They want to be in the classroom and just they want you know, all that knowledge just to come to them. It's not like that. The response of the children just to come to, no, they have to really search and find what each student has to give. And you know, they say, oh, he's lazy, or you know, comments like that I hate in the room where all the teachers are. And I argue with them, you know, many times. And I used to argue. Now I just make small comments and I leave. I walk out of the room. Yeah, or it's how you see them, or no, they're not, or I know they have much more to give to you, just you didn't look enough, you know.
Does the school ask you to do a workshop for the teachers?
No, actually, I offered to do one, but they found many excuses.
Well, that's the issue. It depends.
I know.
That's the issue is as well, is that teachers are within a discourse as well. And if the kind of the authority line is to maintain this kind of pandemonium, then you may get the exceptions, but you won't get the mainstream of the teachers moving. But probably with a single workshop, 90% of the issues would fall away.
Because they don't do that, what I do, I speak to each teacher isolated from the others.
Yeah, good.
You know, that's the only time I get to see a different perspective from that specific teacher. And so like today, when she was in that room, that teacher, the specific teacher, she was complaining. And so today I called her. She's also home with COVID. So, you know, I called her and she's more relaxed at home. You know, she's not very sick. So I get to talk to her. And, you know, when I talked to her, she agreed with most of the things that I had to say.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I said to her, you know what, next time when you invite a parent, it's better if you invite me too in that room so I can help you, you know.
Because the teachers are on difficult, they're in a very difficult place, a rock and hard place. The teachers, the parents' expectations and the demands there, you know, the management of the school, the government guidelines, it's a big thing. I remember when I was 16, I remember thinking through and making a decision somewhere between 16 and 17, because for me, teaching would have been an obvious choice to go. And I realized I didn't want to do that because I didn't want 30 children in my class and for me to be shouting at them all day. And later, the work I did was all one by one. And it's a great privilege when you do, when you're working, whether it's in analysis or in the work that I did in the university, where it's one by one conversations, you can get sanity from people that you can't get from them when you're trying to deal with the whole group. So, and yeah, I mean, a teacher is like a mother with 30 children, you know.
It is.
More, you know, so
it is.
Yeah, we have to work one by one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I've got a comment, if I may allow it. Can you hear me, Constantina?
No.
Well, don't worry too much for the teachers, because Freud, in one of his books, says that he said the highest percentage of neurotic people he saw was in people working in the education field. So don't worry about the troubles you have there. Remember Freud.
Yeah, I worry for the children actually more. I don't worry for I don't care.
yes, that's a good response.
Yeah, I worry that children sometimes suffer in their classrooms, and sometimes I honestly want to rescue the students from those teachers. It's just that well, I managed to save one from one teacher, and I found a good excuse, and I supported it with the school psychologist that came in, and it was just me, the psychologist, and the teacher in the classroom, and we talked about the child. And I said, you know, it's best if we move that child and take him to another classroom where his best friend is. And also they were sharing a person that helps them, synodos, like, I don't know how to translate it in English.
Learning support.
Right. It's just, you know, she's helping them, you know, with small things, and, you know, and I said it's best if they are both in the same classroom. So by this year, he moved to the other classroom, and hopefully she will be better. We'll see. So small interventions, you know, small changes. Hopefully they will change the lives of these children, because it's every day. You have to be with that person for 5 hours. You have to deal with that person, and it's too much for a child that it's in the spectrum. He lost his grandparents 6 months ago, both of them, and they were too much supporting their family, and now he's left with his 12-year-old brother that he's you know, there are other problems also in the house. So at least to have sanity during the school hours.
You have to be strategic, actually. So however you can optimize the environment of the child, because once they experience a better environment, so their own experience of what they can seek as a possibility improves. Whereas if they remain just in that eternal struggle, they're carrying too much of the responsibility to, you know, to change things.
Yes. So what I dealt with that child is that I dealt with his brother. He's in the same school, but he's in the highest grade. And I found out, because I'm the only person in the school that girls could come and talk to me, that he was, I forgot the word. He was Avnanizadu. How is that? in English?
Masturbating.
Masturbating in the classroom.
Or onanism. He was practicing onanism.
Yeah, he was masturbating in the classroom, and the girls knew that, but they were afraid to talk because he will bully them. So immediately I took it, and the school invited the parents, and the headmaster, thank God, she handled it very well with the parents, and the parents admitted that yes, he has this issue and everything, and we're taking him to psychologist, and what they paid, what I told the headmaster to pay attention is the hours that the small autistic child stays with the 12 years old, that he's obsessed with masturbating and watching porn movies and all that. So it's very dangerous for him, because he started making moves, showing off his penis, and so immediately that stopped. So the parents paid attention to that, and that stopped, hopefully. I don't have any updates. So he was more relaxed after that. He was more...
Constantina, you were talking about teachers and students, and how these two groups communicate with one another.
Communicate?
Yeah, in their own way.
Yeah.
So I have a personal experience, because my father used to be a teacher. And he told me a story once. He was in Lyceum. He was teaching economics. And one day, the last desk in the classroom, they were quite, they were not frowning. Anyway, and he said the last desk to go out. And they took it quite literally, and they took the desk and they threw it off the second floor. So, yeah. The other thing is that not only the children need support, but teachers as well.
Oh yeah, big time. Do you have any psychoanalysts to send them, to refer them to?
Yeah, I think there is a problem with structures, because if you put if you label the child, for example, as the child that has a problem because is misbehaving, etc., then basically the stereotypes need to change. So if someone is facing some issues for whatever reason, for example, they go somewhere and find a solution for that issue. But the same should apply for teachers as well.
Yeah. You see, I mean, as Pedro said, most of them are neurotics. Imagine what's going on now in schools with COVID and all those tests that they are coming to schools, and the students have to line up and miss class, and it's a chaos. And teachers are scared of students that they're not wearing masks, and they're constantly in, wear your mask, don't wear it under your nose, wear it on top of your nose, or don't play, or don't run, or don't, you know, it's a mess, you know, it's a chaos right now in schools. Students don't learn, teachers do not teach, they do anything else. And you know, the other day, today actually, BOED, which is the, το Συνδικάτο των Δασκάλων, they asked for voting from the teachers to make less interference in the schools from the health department. Okay, and the head teacher said, her comment was, "Μα σοβαρή τούτη, εν καιρός τώρα τούτος." Like, it's not a good time now. And I comment on that immediately, and I said, actually, they are late. They should act much earlier, and teachers should be able to teach and not be policemen running after the children, and they shouldn't be nurses, and they shouldn't be, they're doing anything else but that. They should check who has the test, and from the phone, and they have to, parents that have to send, the test results and everything, and they have to, we have to stand in the gates to check if everybody is positive in order to get in. And during recess, we have to separate the classrooms, and the students, they shouldn't run, and they shouldn't play, and they shouldn't touch each other. And it's crazy. I mean, so many things. And the comment from the headmaster was, okay, we go on. And that was it. She didn't comment on anything. She said, okay, we'll go on, and this is going to be the schedule for tomorrow. And I said, okay, so there is your problem. If you're not willing to change anything from your reality, but you hate your reality, you're complaining for your reality, but you're not willing to change anything, so there's your problem. You have an opportunity to change it, but you say it's not the time, because I guess, and now it's their favorite time. I find out that a lot of teachers are enjoying this time, this suffering, and the suffering, and I'm positive, or I'm negative, and I'm anxious, and I'm stressed, and I have to wear double masks and 3 masks, and I have to clean all my students. And there's a teacher, she puts chlorine all around the classroom. It's crazy. I mean, you go in the classroom and you get a headache from that smell. And she lines up all the children just to wash their hands and put spray on their hands. They literally got crazy. So on top of everything, we have COVID at schools, and children act on it, act on this craziness, and they are more agitative. They get more angry. They get angry easier and faster, as teachers too. I don't know.
The children can't do otherwise. In a way, if the structure is not in place, you can't. There are so many forces playing out in the classroom that unless the child has the teacher as a point of reference for authority and order and structure, it's not happening. And if the teacher, really from what I've seen over the last years, unless you're in analysis and long-term, you're just trapped in the loops of that discourse, really. And with COVID, it exposes the pandemonium. Yes.
Yes.
But the children can't do otherwise. precisely because they don't have their bearings in the structure. What would be a starting point for them to have a sense of order? They normally look to the authority figure, which is the teacher.
Yeah. I have other things to say, but it's 9:15. I don't know if you're tired. It's Saturday night. I'm locked in, but if you guys have to go somewhere, this is fun for me.
Well, I think part of its structure is to be able to set a limit to something that is enjoyable. It's already a lot of things that you gave us to consider in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Highly appreciated.
Thank you.
Me too. And if you want to talk about school or education at any time, I'd be happy to get in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
Will do.
Thank you, Constantina. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, everybody, for attending our seminar. Constantina, you were wonderful. Thank you very much.